I'm 32, and I work as a remote QA analyst for a mid-sized software company. It's one of those jobs where no one really knows what you do, and you secretly hope they don't ask. I've always been introverted, more comfortable behind a screen than in a crowd, and I've lived alone since my early 20s. The apartment I rent is part of a quiet 3-building complex on the edge of a suburban neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, dog walkers in the mornings, kids on bikes in the afternoons. The incident happened last October, late enough in the year that evenings came early, and the air carried that cold, metallic smell of oncoming winter. I had installed a Ring doorbell camera, mostly for convenience. Packages went missing a lot in our neighborhood, and my landlord would rather forward threats from the Homeowners Association than replace stolen mail. Most nights were the same. I worked late, heated something from the freezer, half-watched YouTube while scrolling on my phone, then went to bed. Predictable, comfortable, boring even. The night everything started was a Tuesday. I remember it because I'd burned my dinner and eaten cereal straight from the box instead. Dry, like a college kid again. It was just after 9 when my phone buzzed with the familiar Ring notification sound. Motion detected at your front door. I didn't think much of it. The hallway light in our building was on a motion sensor, and it was always glitchy. Still, I tapped the notification. The screen loaded slowly, buffering for a second before the black and white night vision image appeared. All I saw at first was the empty corridor outside my door. Just the usual things. The scratched paint on apartment 3B across the way, the emergency exit sign flickering at the end of the hallway, a torn flyer for yoga classes that no one ever tore down. After a moment, the clip ended. No big deal. I locked my phone and finished my cereal. I remember thinking about how I really should start cooking actual meals. Real adult meals with vegetables and stuff. My mom had called earlier that day, worried as usual, asking if I was eating enough actual food. I had lied and told her I was learning new recipes. I put the box back in the cabinet, rinsed my bowl, and leaned against the counter, scrolling through messages from work. Someone had broken the staging build again. Same guy, as always. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Same sound, same message. Motion detected at your front door. I sighed this time, more annoyed than curious, and tapped the screen. Again, the hallway looked empty. I replayed the clip. Nothing smart enough to trigger the sensor. Great, I muttered. Piece of junk. It went off twice more within the next half hour. By the 4th notification, I was irritated enough to grab my keys and step outside to see if something was making it freak out. Maybe a moth or a loose wire casting shadows. The hallway smelled faintly like someone's overcooked dinner. The lights buzzed softly overhead. Nothing seemed out of place. I leaned down and wiped the doorbell lens with my sleeve. "Happy now?" I whispered, feeling stupid for talking to a gadget. When I went back inside, I locked the deadbolt, like always, and didn't think about it again, not until midnight. I was already in bed when the notification came in again. This time, instead of annoyance, I felt a small, weird pinch of irritation mixed with fatigue. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and opened the app. The hallway loaded, and I immediately saw a man standing directly in front of my door. He was close enough that I could see the fabric texture of his jacket, close enough that his breath in the cool hall air faintly fogged the lens. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was staring at my door handle. At first, I assumed he was confused and had the wrong apartment. It happened sometimes. People came home drunk or distracted and tried the wrong door, except he wasn't fumbling. He was standing very still, just waiting. I watched the clip restart automatically. 10 seconds, him not moving, 10 more seconds. Same posture, same stillness. I felt my pulse in my throat. The timestamp in the corner said he'd been there for over a minute before the clip stopped. I opened the live feed. He was still there. I lowered my phone slightly and stared at the actual door in front of me. The thick wooden slab separating us suddenly felt less solid, like cardboard, like a suggestion of safety instead of the real thing. Through the door, I could hear nothing. No footsteps, no breathing. I raised the phone again. The man suddenly leaned in close to the lens, as if he could feel that I was watching. His face was partially obscured by the infrared glare, but I could make out wet skin around his mouth. He licked his lips. Then he spoke. I didn't hear anything in my apartment, but faint audio came through the app. "I know you're home." My stomach turned cold. Then the screen went black as the clip ended. I didn't move for nearly a full minute. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. The camera view snapped back on. The hallway was empty. I remember feeling an irrational wave of relief, like waking from a bad dream. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone had stood there for a few seconds and left. Maybe the audio glitched and my brain filled in the rest. I told myself all of that, actually whispered it out loud. It's nothing. It's fine. I got out of bed and quietly crept to the door, pressing my ear against the wood. Nothing. No shuffling. No breathing. Just the distant hum of pipes and someone's television down the hall. I locked the bolt again, even though it was already locked. Then I did something I'd never done before. I dragged my couch in front of the door. I don't know why. I didn't really think about it. It just felt necessary, like my body made the decision without consulting my brain. I was halfway through pushing it when my phone vibrated again. Another alert. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. The man was back. This time, he wasn't standing in front of my door. He was standing right up against the camera. His eye filled the screen, unblinking. "I can hear you," he whispered through the speaker. A soft bump came from the other side of the door. Then another, like someone gently knocking their forehead against it. Once, twice, 3 times. I backed away so hard I tripped over my own coffee table and hit the floor. My phone clattered out of my hand and landed face down on the carpet. I scrabbled for it, fingers numb and useless. The sound came again, a slow knock, not with his fist, with something hard. Metal. "Go away," I croaked, my voice tiny and useless in the quiet apartment. "Just go away." The knocking stopped. I lay there on the floor, staring at the ceiling, counting my breaths, waiting for the next sound. Nothing. I forced myself to sit up and pick up my phone. The live feed showed darkness, then motion as the camera readjusted. The man was still there, now crouched low, face close to the bottom of the door. He was smiling. "You gonna open it?" he asked softly. I shook my head before I even realized I was doing it, tears gathering in my eyes. "I already tried the handle," he added casually. "You've got that extra lock on. Smart." Nothing in my life up to that point had prepared me for the hollow panic that followed. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaking thumbs. As soon as it started ringing, his head snapped toward the camera. "Who are you calling?" he hissed. I didn't answer. "Hey," he said, knocking again with more force. "Hey, don't make this weird." The dispatcher picked up, and I sobbed out my address as quietly as I could. The man stood up, eye level with the camera again. "You think they're gonna get here in time?" he said, his voice suddenly flat. There was a loud, sharp crack against the door. Not a knock, a strike. The police arrived in less than 6 minutes. It felt like a year. By the time they burst into the hallway, the man was gone. They found nothing. No damage to the door, no fingerprints, nothing on camera outside of the building. Just my ring footage and a vague description. They took my statement and told me they'd keep an eye out. I slept at a hotel for a week. When I finally came back, my landlord replaced the deadbolt, added a chain, and installed a better hallway camera. I quit my job and moved 3 months later. New city, new building, new routine, but I never stopped checking my phone at night. Never stopped listening for sounds outside my door. I didn't feel safe anymore. I felt watched. 2 weeks ago, I got a Ring notification for the first time in years. I don't own a Ring camera anymore. It was an email, a password reset request I never made. Location, unknown device. I changed all my passwords that night. But sometimes when I'm lying in bed, I imagine that hallway, that flickering exit sign. And I wonder if that man ever really left, or if he just finally figured out how to watch from somewhere else.